Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Story number 1 today digs into a lifetime of body shaming from a mother who acted like her daughter's body belonged to her. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. My adulthood revenge was letting her discover she was bigger than me. My mom fat-shamed me for as long as I can remember. I hit puberty freakishly early, period, boobs, hips, the whole package by age 10, and instead of treating it as a normal biological thing, she decided it meant I was getting fat. That was it. That became the narrative of my entire childhood. From then on, she was forever putting me on a diet, not gentle nudges either. Actual you need to watch what you eat lectures directed at a literal child. When all my friends were shopping in the junior section, she marched me straight to chubby girls like it was my assigned district. I learned very early that my body in her eyes was a problem to be fixed. Fast forward a couple of decades and 2 pregnancies. Realistically, yes, I gained weight, a lot of weight. But instead of offering support or empathy, my mom went feral about it. It wasn't just private comments anymore. She started humiliating me openly, in stores, in front of relatives, even in front of my husband. Little digs, side-eyed remarks, jokes that weren't jokes. She acted like my body was a personal failure she had to publicly distance herself from. Then one day I just snapped internally and decided enough. I took up running, not for her, but for my sanity. And shockingly, my body responded fast. I was shedding weight quicker than I expected. My clothes started fitting differently every few weeks. My work suit pants, originally a size 14, were getting taken in repeatedly by the tailor. First down to a 12, then to a 10, and eventually even the altered 10s were too loose. And here's the thing. My mom, she didn't see it. Or maybe she refused to. Maybe acknowledging my progress meant letting go of her favorite narrative. Either way, she kept acting like I was still the same size she'd been criticizing. So one day I decided to indulge in a little harmless, perfectly targeted petty revenge. I walked into her kitchen holding the pair of size 14 altered to 10 suit pants and said casually, "These don't fit me anymore. Would you like them?" Now, to understand this moment, you need to know my mom had been very proud of being a slim 14. She brought it up constantly, like it was her personal trophy. So when she took my pants and tried them on, she expected it to be a quick ego boost. Instead, she discovered they didn't fit, not even close. I watched the realization ripple across her face that she was bigger than the daughter she'd spent decades policing. And let me tell you, she was upset. Not angry at me, not outwardly, just quietly rattled in a way only vanity can rattle a person. She eventually came out of the room holding the pants and said, I guess I'm bigger than I thought." I just shrugged. Well, happens. And yes, it was petty, absolutely. But the satisfaction, the cosmic, poetic, karmic satisfaction, oh, it was delicious. Because it wasn't just about pants. It was about reclaiming the narrative she'd tried to write for me my whole life. It was the first time she had to face her own body with the same scrutiny she'd forced on mine. And honestly, I don't regret it one bit. By trying them on, she was forced to conduct the same brutal assessment she'd forced on you for years. The moment they didn't fit was the moment the narrative violently shifted. She was no longer the slim critic looking down at a flawed daughter. She was the one being measured by her own cruel standard. And our second story. My manager borrowed my PhD graduation gown and refused to return it for 6 months. I graduated with a PhD from a UK university many years ago. The graduation gowns, hoods, and hats are expensive to buy, almost 1,000 Great British pounds for the 3, so most people pay about 30 to 40 pounds to rent them for a morning or afternoon. This gives people time for the ceremony and to take photos. A friend of mine owned a PhD gown, hood, and hat because he was planning on enrolling in a PhD, but he ended up not pursuing it, so he very kindly gave everything to me. I was over the moon. It meant I didn't need to pay the rental charge, and I could potentially use them in future as a staff member to be part of other graduation ceremonies, which I've done over the years. I made the mistake of telling a manager of mine this story. Even though I worked at a different university by this point, my line manager was about to graduate from my old university with a PhD. She asked if she could borrow them, and even though I was uncomfortable, I said yes because I wanted to be in her good graces. She ended up keeping the gown, hood, and hat for 6 months. I must have asked her about 10 times to return them, and every time was a different excuse. I'm getting more professional photos taken. I forgot. I have family coming in from out of town, and I want them to see me in the robe, etc. The final straw came when she said that she should get to keep them because she worked hard to get her PhD. What? So did I, and I didn't fail mine the first time round and have to resubmit. Then she said since I got them for free that it wasn't a big deal. In the end, I had to make up a story about a friend who wanted to borrow them for an upcoming ceremony, and if they weren't in my hands by the end of the week, I'd be coming to her house with my husband and my friend to pick them up on the weekend. She did then return everything in good condition. If she hadn't been my manager, and a pretty bad and ineffectual one at that, I would have dealt with it differently. But my word, the entitlement of some people. No, actually, you're not entitled to my property because you think you deserve it. Now, no one gets to borrow them because I know I'll never have the money to replace them or even justify replacing them if something happens to them. Edit. Some people have asked about my friend who owned a PhD graduation gown, hat, and hood before even enrolling on a PhD. I think he either got gifted them for free or they didn't meet quality control and he bought them super cheap. I can't quite remember. Part of what made the regalia so precious to me was my friend could have sold them on and made a decent profit, but he didn't. He knew a number of people undertaking PhDs at that university and could have given them away to others, but he didn't. He chose me. He refused money when I offered. I was working 2 jobs and had no family nearby, so maybe that's why he chose me, but I was and still am grateful for his kindness. And our next story. A customer's gas cost him his fuel. His attitude cost him my patience. First off, I get it. People can be in a rush and be otherwise preoccupied to remember or even remember to check which fuel pump number they're at. But the worst thing you can do is guess. Because if you give the cashier the wrong pump number and someone else is at the pump and pumps your fuel, that's between you and them now. And so it was one night when this balding middle-aged guy came in and wanted $20 on pump 10. I made a quick glance outside and saw there was a car there before ringing him up and moving on to the next customer. Then I heard the call alarm, a byproduct of the age when people would put fuel in their car first, then pay. This happens when anyone lifts the pump handle, mostly when someone can't follow instructions and attempt to lift the pump handle before using their card, but also if you lift the pump handle on a pump that you haven't prepaid on. Because I don't feel like making my drawer short, I never assume. It's one thing if a customer tells me the wrong pump number and someone else gets their gas, and quite another if I assume the customer gave me the wrong pump number, change the pump, and it turns out I guessed wrong. I just wait for the person to come back in, usually realizing their mistake, and then transfer it over to the pump they tell me. Oh, but not this guy, no. Why can't I get gas? He angrily exclaims. Well, are you at pump number 10 like you told me you were? I don't know. I saw the number 10 and I thought that's where I was. Sir, please look outside and tell me the number on the pole on the side your vehicle is on. There's a pole behind each pump unit and has a pair of red metal signs with numbers attached to them. The number to the left corresponds to the side of the pump to the left, and so on. Looks like number 11. Okay, are you sure? Yes. Transfers prepay. Okay, you're all set. Have a good one. Was I being condescending as his complaint to corporate claimed? Sure I was. But if you're going to come back in acting like your F-up is my fault and need that much hand-holding to let me fix it, you kind of deserve it. I am so sick of the idea that consumers/customers don't have any responsibilities. Lucky for most, many companies have generous return policies. But let's say if you ordered a custom decal and misspelled what you wanted on it, guess what, buddy? You're the proud owner of a custom decal with a misspelled name. Too bad, so sad. And our last story. Am I too poor for your dealership? Okay. Back when I was 20, I had the kind of luck that doesn't feel real until you're looking back at it decades later. A development contract fell into my lap, a big one, with a major financial firm located in what everyone simply called the city, our version of Wall Street. Suddenly, I wasn't just freelancing out of my bedroom, I was the director of a small but rapidly growing computer company. And like every newly minted director in the UK in the 80s, I immediately learned about one of the weird quirks of the tax system back then, company cars. Everyone had one, even tiny businesses handed them out because they were tax efficient and made the whole firm look more successful. So it was time for me to get a company car, something reliable, something fast, and something that wouldn't bankrupt me if I needed parts. Enter Ford. They weren't luxury by any means, but the higher-end performance models were desirable, especially the top-tier trim I had my eye on. Quick, solid, practical, and importantly, it screamed, "I'm a business professional," in a way my 20-year-old brain found irresistible. I rang up a local Ford dealer, spoke to a salesman, and booked a test drive. Everything seemed fine. Then I showed up. The salesman, let's call him Graham, took one look at me and visibly deflated. I've never forgotten that expression. It wasn't neutral annoyance or mild confusion. It was pure condescension. The man saw a 20-year-old kid and immediately assumed, not worth my time. "Hi," I told him. "I'm here for the test drive at 2:30. Graham didn't even stand up from his chair. He gave a lazy flick of his pen toward the lot outside. "Yeah, we don't have the car available." No apology, no explanation, no offer to reschedule, just a smirk that said, "You can't afford it anyway, so stop pretending." I blinked at him. "We made the appointment 2 days ago." "Yeah, well, we don't have it," he repeated, looking pleased with himself. At this point, he clearly expected me to slink away, embarrassed. Unfortunately for him, I'd spent the last year negotiating with executives who could chew a grown man up in a single conference call. Some Ford salesman wasn't going to intimidate me. "Fine," I said calmly. "When you do have the car, give me a call." Then I handed him one of my brand new business cards, crisp, embossed with director written right underneath my name. Suddenly, he sat up about 6 inches straighter. "Oh, well, sir, maybe I can double-check our availability. Hold on, I think—" "No need," I said, already turning toward the exit. "I'll hear from you if something changes." I didn't wait for his response. I walked out, and Graham actually followed me halfway across the showroom, stammering excuses and insisting that, actually, perhaps one was available after all. Too late. If he couldn't muster basic respect before he saw the title on my card, he certainly wasn't getting a sale from me. A week later, I bought the exact same model from another Ford dealer 2 towns over. They treated me properly from the moment I walked in. They got the sale. Simple. The great thing about Ford at the time was that the first service, the essential 600-mile check, could be done at any authorized dealership, and wouldn't you know it, the awful dealership was close to my office. So of course that's where I went. The service desk was positioned close enough to the sales desks that the staff couldn't help but overhear conversations. Perfect placement for a little poetic satisfaction. I walked in, keys in hand, wearing the same calm expression I'd worn the day Graham blew me off. "Hi," I said, purposely projecting my voice just enough to carry across the room. "I'm here for the 600-mile service on my new company car." I dangled the keys slightly as I handed them to the service advisor. The instant Graham looked over, I saw recognition hit him, and horror, genuine stomach-dropping horror. His jaw clenched, his eyes darted from me to the outside, freshly polished, top-tier trim, exactly the model he'd refused to let me test drive, then back to me. He went pale. I smiled politely at the service advisor, keeping my tone warm and professional, while Graham watched from behind his desk like someone witnessing their commission drift away on the wind. "Thank you," I said. "The dealership I bought it from told me you'd handle the complimentary service. They said you were quite good." That part wasn't true. No one had said anything about this particular branch, but it landed exactly as intended. Graham looked like he was swallowing broken glass. When the service was finished, I thanked the staff, waved cheerfully at the room, making sure my eyes passed over Graham's desk, and walked out. To this day, I swear I've rarely enjoyed something so petty quite that much. Not because I won, but because he realized, in real time, exactly how foolish he'd been. All he had to do was treat a young customer with basic respect. Instead, he misjudged, sneered, dismissed, and assumed, and it cost him a very easy sale and a fat commission. Sometimes the universe doesn't need karma. Sometimes a 600-mile service and a well-timed smile are more than enough. There's a kind of justice in letting someone trap themselves with their own attitude. He decided who you were before even speaking to you, and that cost him the sale. Showing up later with the exact car he refused to let you test drive wasn't revenge. It was just the natural conclusion of his own behavior. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.